What if one afternoon of planting could keep paying you back for the next 30 years? You place a small plant into the ground today, and a few summers later that same corner is covered in flowers, shade, and branches bending beneath fresh fruit. There is no restarting from seed every spring, and no waiting for the grocery store to decide what ripe fruit should taste like. You simply walk outside, reach into the leaves, and bring breakfast back into the house. These 9 fruiting shrubs and trees do more than tolerate long summers and intense heat. Give them the right start, and they can turn an ordinary backyard into a place that becomes more productive with every passing year. Number 5 can produce so generously that the ground beneath it turns purple, and birds arrive as though they have been invited to a festival. One tree near the top of the list can remain productive for decades, with exceptional mature trees producing harvests measured in hundreds of pounds. Number 3 can even make a fresh lemon taste like candy for up to an hour. Stay until the end, because there is also one 5-minute planting move that can help every plant on this list build a wider, stronger root system. We will begin with a fruit small enough to disappear in one bite, but powerful enough to make an orange look almost ordinary. Do not let the size fool you. By weight, acerola can contain dozens of times more vitamin C than an ordinary orange. That is not twice as much or even 5 times as much, but potentially dozens of times more, packed inside a bright red fruit small enough to eat in a few bites. The plant looks almost as impressive as that number. First comes a flush of delicate pink flowers, followed by tiny green fruits hiding between glossy leaves. A little later, the entire shrub seems to light up with red cherries. Barbados cherry does not always make you wait for one short harvest at the end of the season. Once it settles in, it can move through repeated waves of flowers and fruit, giving the backyard a handful today, another bowl later, and then a new flush of flowers, quietly preparing the next round. The fruit is juicy, bright, tangy, and pleasantly sweet when fully ripe. You can pick it straight from the plant, blend it into smoothies, turn it into juice, or cook it down into a vivid red preserve. The best part may be how effortless the harvest feels. Keep the shrub shaped low, and the fruit stays within easy reach, with no ladder or special equipment required. You simply walk outside, look for the deepest red fruit, and pick breakfast while it is still warm from the sun. To help the plant become that productive, do not stop the mulch at the edge of the original planting hole. Give it a broad circle of cooler, softer soil from the beginning, then widen the mulch and watering circle as the canopy expands. Every extra foot of root zone gives this little red powerhouse more room to turn sunlight into flowers, and those flowers into the next bowl of fruit. Now look at the emptiest boundary in the yard. It may be a fence that reflects heat all afternoon, a blank wall, or simply a narrow strip of ground that has never done anything useful. Natal plum can transform that forgotten edge into a dense evergreen barrier covered with fragrant white flowers and smooth red fruit. This is more than a fruit bush. It is an edible guardian. The foliage grows thick and glossy, while the star-shaped flowers release a soft fragrance, often compared with jasmine. Smooth red fruits appear against the dark leaves and become sweeter and more plum-like as they fully ripen. They can be eaten fresh when soft, or used in jams, sauces, and preserves where their bright tartness becomes an advantage. What makes Natal plum especially valuable is the number of jobs it performs at the same time. It creates privacy, fills an exposed boundary, carries flowers, slows wind, forms a strong living barrier, and still produces fruit. Its forked thorns are part of that personality, turning a soft-looking hedge into something far more substantial. Give this plant a job worthy of that strength. Place it along a broad property edge, beneath a window, or against a boundary where you want the landscape to say, politely but clearly, that the space is occupied. Keep the outer shape dense, but trim a few open harvest pockets into the hedge so the ripening fruit remains easy to reach. An ordinary fence only divides 2 pieces of land, while a Natal plum hedge can divide the land, perfume the air, create privacy, carry flowers, and feed you from the same strip of ground. Jujube feels like a garden trick because the same tree can give you 2 completely different eating experiences. Pick the fruit while the skin is still smooth and the flesh is pale, and it tastes like a small, sweet apple, crisp, refreshing, and perfect for eating directly from the branch. Wait a little longer, however, and everything begins to change. The skin develops reddish-brown patches, while the flesh becomes sweeter and denser. Leave it longer still, and the fruit begins moving toward the rich, concentrated texture of a date. You can fill one bowl with fresh, crunchy fruit, then leave another section of the tree to develop deeper sweetness. That alone makes harvest season more interesting. Jujube also seems to enjoy the kind of heat that makes many ordinary fruit plants slow down. Once established, it becomes remarkably durable. The summer sun keeps shining, the surrounding soil keeps drying, and the tree continues adding branches and fruiting wood. This is where perennial fruit becomes powerful. A young tree may begin with only a few fruits, but every season adds more roots, more canopy, and more places for the next crop to form. The tree does not restart from zero each year, it accumulates. Over time, the original planting becomes a larger machine for turning heat and sunlight into crisp snacks, dried fruit, and sweet pantry harvests. During the first season, help those roots travel by widening the watering circle instead of pouring everything beside the trunk. Spread mulch across the surrounding soil and let the protected area grow with the canopy. Think of every extra foot of root zone as another piece of the tree's future toughness. A young jujube may look modest today, but give it time and it can become the tree standing confidently in the heat, while you decide whether today's harvest should taste like an apple or a date. Surinam cherry turns harvesting into a color game. Green means the fruit still needs time. Yellow means it is not quite ready. Orange means it is getting close. And bright red means the flavor is finally opening. When a dark fruited variety turns purple-black, the real treasure hunt begins. The ribbed fruit looks like a tiny polished pumpkin hanging beneath the leaves, making it one of those plants that causes visitors to stop and ask what they are looking at. The flavor is sweet, tart, aromatic, and completely different from the familiar supermarket cherry. Fully ripened, dark selections can develop a richer, smoother sweetness, but patience matters. Pick the fruit too early and you miss half the experience, so let the color deepen and the flesh soften before reaching for the darkest one first. The plant itself grows with the kind of energy impatient gardeners dream about. It fills in quickly, stays dense near the ground, and responds beautifully to clipping. That makes it useful as a screen, rounded shrub, or tightly shaped fruiting hedge. Its vigor is so strong that the plant almost seems to come with its own engine. The smart move is to give that engine a clear direction. Keep the hedge clipped, keep the fruit harvested, and keep the plant working exactly where you placed it. The result is not simply another wall of green. It is a hedge that changes color, moving from green foliage to orange and red fruit, followed by a daily search for the darkest, sweetest pieces hidden inside. An ordinary hedge demands trimming and gives nothing back, while this one can turn the same maintenance into a harvest ritual. At this point, the list begins to change. The first 4 plants can behave like shrubs, hedges, or compact backyard features. But the next few stretch the word bush almost to breaking point. Leave them completely alone, and some will try to build a canopy, claim an entire corner, and produce fruit on a completely different scale. Keep them shaped and reachable though, and this is where the harvest starts getting serious. Number 5 does not create a neat little crop. It creates what can only be described as sweet chaos. A mature mulberry is generous enough to change the atmosphere of the entire yard. First, a few berries darken, then one entire branch begins to ripen. A few days later, the ground beneath the canopy starts turning purple. Birds arrive as though the harvest festival has already begun. Children come inside with stained fingers, and bowls start appearing on the kitchen counter. Suddenly, giving fruit away is no longer just a generous idea. It becomes part of the harvest plan. Mulberries are soft, sweet, juicy, and almost impossible to compare with the firm fruit designed to survive a truck ride and a supermarket shelf. Straight from the branch, they are warm, fragile, and full of juice. They are also the kind of fruit that rarely reaches the kitchen because everyone starts eating while they pick. Some varieties carry dark purple berries, while others produce red, pink, or pale fruit. Long-fruited selections can hang beneath the leaves like soft pieces of candy. Because mulberry grows quickly, it can transform an empty corner much faster than many slower perennial trees. It gives fruit, creates shade, draws birds into the yard, and when shaped low, forms a broad harvest canopy that remains easy to reach from the ground. The key is giving this generosity the right setting. Instead of planting it beside a spotless walkway where every fallen berry has to behave, give it an open lawn edge, a mulched corner, or a patch of soil where dropped fruit can disappear back into the garden. In that setting, the purple ground stops looking like a mess and becomes evidence that the tree is producing exactly as wildly as you hoped. After harvest, shorten the strongest vertical branches and encourage a wider, lower frame. You are not trying to stop the tree, you are teaching it where to place the next crop. Keep the branches within reach, spread a sheet beneath the heaviest section during peak ripening, and let the entire family join the harvest. Mulberry does not promise perfect order. It promises abundance, shade, birdsong, stained fingers, and a few weeks every year when the backyard feels almost excessively alive. That is the sweet chaos. Pineapple guava begins the experience before the fruit is even cut. Pick up a ripe one and the fragrance arrives first. Slice it open, and the center is soft, aromatic, and spoonable, with flavors that can suggest pineapple, guava, strawberry, mint, and something gently floral all at once. It tastes far more exotic than the plant looks, which is impressive because the plant is already beautiful. The foliage remains evergreen, with soft green upper surfaces and silvery undersides that flash whenever the wind turns the leaves over. Then the flowers open, displaying white petals around dramatic red stamens. Here's the surprise. The petals are edible too. Their flavor is mildly sweet and floral, giving the plant two completely different harvest experiences, with flowers arriving first and fruit coming later. Between those two harvests, pineapple guava still works as a dense screen, clipped hedge, or elegant evergreen feature near a patio. This is the gourmet plant on the list. It does not need to shout because it wins through details: silver leaves, edible flowers, tropical fragrance, and ripe fruit that can be opened with a knife and eaten slowly with a spoon. Planting two different varieties can make the experience even better. The screen grows fuller, the flowering display becomes larger, and compatible pollen can help turn more of those dramatic blossoms into fruit. When harvest approaches, keep soft mulch beneath the canopy. A ripe pineapple guava may release naturally and appear on the ground overnight, as though the plant quietly left breakfast there for you. This is the fruit plant for someone who wants the garden to feel productive without losing its elegance. This next plant is simply fun. Take a single red berry, place it in your mouth, move the pulp around your tongue, and separate it from the seed. Wait a moment, then bite into a fresh lemon. The lemon itself has not changed, but your tongue has. The sharp sourness suddenly registers as sweetness. Lemon becomes candy, tart berries begin tasting like dessert, and familiar foods can feel completely new for the next 15 minutes to an hour. The effect comes from a natural protein called miraculin, which temporarily changes how your taste receptors respond to acidic foods. That makes miracle fruit different from every other plant on this list. You do not need a wheelbarrow full of berries to make the harvest exciting. A few fruits can turn an ordinary table into an experiment. Put out lemon wedges, limes, tart strawberries, plain yogurt, and perhaps a small splash of vinegar for the bravest person in the group. Then watch everyone take the first bite and look around the table, as though somebody changed the rules of food. Miracle fruit loves warmth, humidity, and the kind of summer heat that turns a patio into a greenhouse. Beneath the surface, however, it has one very specific demand. Its roots prefer strongly acidic soil, close to pH 5. If your backyard soil naturally provides that, the plant can grow directly in the ground. If it does not, there is no need to spend years trying to force ordinary soil to become something it is not. Instead, give the plant its own private root zone. A large container filled with a pine bark-based acidic mix allows the roots to live in exactly the environment they prefer, while the leaves continue soaking up intense summer heat outdoors. Place the container near a patio or outdoor table. Keep the mix evenly moist and let the plant become part of the entertainment. The fruit grows where everyone can see it, and the moment one berry turns red, the lemons can come out. Miracle fruit may not produce the largest harvest on this list, but no other plant can create quite as many confused faces, surprised laughs, and people immediately reaching for a second lemon. Now, jump forward in time, not merely to next summer, but 5 years into the future. The thin young trunk has thickened, and the canopy that once fit into the back of a vehicle now creates a circle of shade. Beneath the dark green leaves hang clusters of round, tan fruit. Cut down one bunch, and suddenly you are no longer harvesting one piece at a time. You are carrying fruit by the cluster. Peel away the thin shell, and the flesh inside is smooth, translucent, sweet, and floral, with a dark seed visible through the center. That eye-like appearance is how Longan earned its famous nickname, dragon's eye fruit. The real story, however, is scale. Air-layered trees can begin producing surprisingly early, and mature Longans can remain productive for decades. In exceptional years, well-grown trees have produced harvests measured in hundreds of pounds. That is not a bowl or even a basket. It is a household event. Buckets come out, whole clusters are carried inside, and the fruit is shared fresh, chilled, dried, preserved, or sent home with anyone who happens to visit at the right time. Not every season will look exactly the same, but that potential explains why Longan feels like a legacy planting rather than a short garden experiment. This is a tree that can change the way an entire corner of the property feels. It provides fruit and shade, gives people somewhere to gather, and eventually makes it difficult to remember what the yard looked like before the canopy existed. While the tree is still young, encourage several strong, well-spaced branches instead of one narrow tower. A broad frame keeps more of the future crop within reach and creates better shade beneath the canopy. You are not only shaping a tree, you are deciding where people may stand 10 or 20 years from now, while someone reaches up and cuts down the next cluster. Plant Longan for the first harvest, but remember that the real payoff belongs to the summers still far ahead. Let us be honest about Noni. When fully ripe, it does not smell like pineapple, mango, or a perfect tropical cocktail. Its aroma is closer to a bold, aged cheese that has been warming in the sun. It is powerful, unmistakable, and once you smell a ripe Noni fruit, you will probably never confuse it with anything else. That strong personality is also part of its legend. You do not grow Noni because it behaves like a strawberry. You grow it because the plant seems almost incapable of stopping. Flowers can appear while young fruit is developing. Older fruit can be ripening on the same plant. And another round may already be forming before the first harvest is finished. The plant looks less like a seasonal fruit bush and more like a production line that never completely shuts down. It is evergreen, persistent, and famous for growing with confidence in places where softer plants hesitate. Large, glossy leaves give it a lush, tropical presence, while pale fruits hang beneath the foliage at several stages of development. Noni also carries a long history of use in Pacific communities for food, dye, and traditional preparations. It does not need miracle claims to be interesting because the plant itself is already extraordinary. It has constant activity, a bold harvest, and enough personality that people either lean closer or take one immediate step backward. Fully ripe noni is rarely treated like a casual dessert fruit. Its powerful character works better when pressed, processed, fermented, or blended with sweeter tropical flavors. Pineapple can soften it, mango can round it out, and citrus can add brightness. The result is not a delicate drink, but a bold tropical blend made from a plant that produces with almost ridiculous determination. Keep the ground beneath it mulched and gather ripe fruit regularly. Then let noni continue doing what earned it the top position. It moves from flower to young fruit, then from young fruit to mature fruit, with one harvest following another while the plant builds the next. Noni is not number one because everyone will agree on the flavor. It holds that position because no plant on this list has a stronger personality or a greater refusal to behave like an ordinary seasonal crop. Here's the planting move promised at the beginning. Do not build a tiny mulch donut around the trunk. Build the future root zone instead. After planting, cover a wide circle with compost and coarse mulch, always leaving a clear gap around the trunk. As the canopy grows, gradually widen both the mulch circle and the area you water. That simple expansion encourages the roots to leave the original nursery ball and move into cooler, softer soil. A small circle keeps today's plant alive, while a widening circle begins building the tree you want 10 years from now. You do not need to plant all 9. You only need to begin with the one that makes you see an unused corner of the yard differently. It may become a fruiting hedge where there is only an empty fence today, a low mulberry canopy where children can pick berries without a ladder, or one young tree that eventually creates shade, fills bowls, and becomes part of the way your family remembers summer. That is the real power of perennial fruit. The planting happens once, but the roots keep moving. The canopy keeps expanding, and the harvest can return long after the afternoon that started it has been forgotten. Choose one plant, give it room, and build the future root zone around it. Subscribe to Backyard Systems and keep turning ordinary ground into something that feeds the years ahead. 10 summers from now, you may not remember every plant on this list, but you will remember the first morning you stepped outside and found the branches ready before you were.